All right, guys, we got big news in the crypto world. The biggest news is the crypto blockchain takeover of the stock market has begun, and it begins with NASDAQ. They've actually officially filed with the SEC to actually allow tokenized securities on the US stock market. So they're going to be listed and traded on NASDAQ. This is the first step in complete 24/7 stock markets. Now, I don't think you guys understand like how big this is. This is how George Soros got famous back in the 90s when the currency market went 24/7. He basically did stuff that no one expected because they weren't used to it, and he basically pwned the UK pound, I believe, at that point. And then he didn't really do much for the next 30 years, but he still got really famous for that. So they're going to merge blockchain speed with institutional grade safeguards. I think Solana should be the one that benefits the most from this because we all know that via Kraken, Solana also tokenizes US stocks. So that's going to be a lot of transactions on Solana. So the scoop of it is NASDAQ revealed on September 8th, 2025 that it has submitted a filing to the US SEC Exchange Commission to allow tokenized securities to trade on the NASDAQ stock market. Following the announcement, NASDAQ President Tal Cohen expanded on the proposal in a LinkedIn post, underscoring the importance of combining blockchain-driven efficiencies with existing investor safeguards. Cohen stated, "The approach will ensure tokenized securities trade as regular securities, safeguarding both investors' rights and the systematic stability of our markets through tested, resilient infrastructure." Of course, these tokenized stocks are going to be able to be traded elsewhere. That also might pull people who are interested in trading them 24/7. So this is a huge, huge move for stocks, and now the NASDAQ seems to be endorsing it. It seeks to capture the benefits of the technology while ensuring it matures in a way that best services investors, issuers, and other stakeholders across global capital markets. He explained that intermediaries such as clearinghouses and custodians will continue to play critical roles in risk management and accountability, but I do think their roles will be somewhat lessened. The president of NASDAQ also highlighted the responsibility of embedding government governance from the outset. The challenge and responsibility is to ensure that this transformation is grounded in investor-first principles. So, essentially, drawing from lessons in decentralized finance, Cohen pointed out that innovation must carefully be structured to avoid risks of weak oversight. NASDAQ's approach, he indicated, is to strengthen U.S. capital markets by ensuring tokenization advances in a way that builds out trust and resilience. Obviously, that's very important. But this is like the multi-trillion-dollar stock market. Obviously, not everything is listed on NASDAQ. And I think tokenized stocks will have to go through a lot of scrutiny, as should actually be the case because you're talking about a lot of people's savings, a lot of pension funds, investment funds. So that's due diligence is 100% absolutely necessary in this. But this is very, very good for blockchain as well. I think within 10 years, almost all stocks are going to be on blockchain. They're going to be 24/7. And yes, the business day will have an effect. I still think most of the trading is going to occur from 9 to 5 still, just to keep on schedule, what people are actually used to. And, once people retire at home, they don't really want to look at charts and stuff. They just want to relax with family and that's perfectly fine. But there are going to be a lot of junkies that will go on this 24/7. And I think it will actually expand. Obviously, I think this will make more people excited about blockchain technology once they see this go 24/7. And maybe it'll get them to look at crypto as well. I'm not really sure about the last one. I am just guessing on that. I am just hoping on that, of course. But still, very, very much like game-changing announcement from NASDAQ, especially for the markets and coming to blockchain. Solana and others will definitely benefit. That is like a game changer for crypto, especially those chains that actually jump on and get to tokenize a lot of these assets. Aside from Solana, I'm not really sure which ones they actually are. I'm going to assume the chains that are more programmable and the chains that are fast and efficient as well. So hopefully you guys can see like how big this is actually going to be. And, this is basically going to take control of the stock market in this blockchain technology. And this actually could produce enough transactions on some of the chains to actually boost them up in price because these are real transactions going through the chain, a lot of fees, and they're probably going to be able to pay validators more. Not really sure if they have the scaling to actually do something like this without actually going down, but I think there'll be a lot of testing, and eventually in 10 years, like I said, everything on this market is going to be in blockchain. So this is incredible news, and NASDAQ takes the first step. S&P, maybe Dow Jones will probably follow. There has been a $41 million Solana hack. Not talking about the JavaScript hack that I talked about in the stream earlier today. It's with Swissborg. And they were hacked for $41 million in Solana after third-party API compromise. Now, third-party APIs are one of the places where things are most often hacked. So if you're using one of those, you got to be careful. So hackers drained 193,000 Solana from Swissborg's Solana Earn program after Killing API was compromised, affecting 1% of users and 2% of assets. Swissborg, a Switzerland-based crypto wealth management platform, said hackers exploited a vulnerability in the API of its staking partner Clin, draining about 193,000 Solana tokens from its Earn program. The Swissborg app and other Earn products were not impacted by the hack, the company wrote on Post X. The tokens were worth roughly 41 million. So some of you might mistake this like, oh, big hack has to be that other hack, JavaScript hack, right? No, that affects like software wallets, and it basically was attacking Bitcoin, Ethereum. This is a completely different hack on one platform on Swissborg. Hopefully, none of you were actually using Swissborg, and I think the Earn programs are 100% safe, and they will probably reimburse you even if it's actually not. So they're going to allocate Swissborg's sole treasury to users, so users recover a significant portion of their balance. Figures to be finalized soon. Looks like there might still be some losses. Ongoing actions engaging white hat hackers and security partners to discover compromised funds with a goal of making all users whole. So users are not going to be made whole immediately, but they are definitely working on that. Obviously, stuff like this is always a breach of trust, never good for the company. So this incident does not affect other Earn programs, although I have to say, like, the Solana Earn program just got pwned. I'm not really sure how much people will trust the other Earns programs. Funds in Swissborg app, that's good. Swissborg is in good financial health, and this incident does not affect day-to-day business. Probably true, but since they're not going to make everyone completely whole again from their treasury, maybe a little bit of trouble. So the breach originated with Clin, a staking infrastructure provider that powers yield products on blockchains such as Solana and Ethereum. So hopefully you are not using Kiln. An API attack targets a software bridge that connects two systems. Once again, it's another bridge attack. Bridges are very, very often attacked. In Swissborg's case, its app relied on Clin's API to communicate with Solana's staking network. By compromising the API, hackers were able to manipulate requests and siphon off funds. Swissborg said despite the hack, the company remains in good financial health daily. Daily operations are unaffected, and affected users will be contacted directly by email. $41 million, quite a bit of money. If you're using Swissborg, you might be getting an email, especially if you have Solana. Still not a fatal blow, but it is a very bad day. Obviously, I think they probably have more of that in their treasury. Even though Swissborg, even though $41 million is quite a lot, usually crypto companies have hundreds of millions in their treasury, even the smaller exchanges and platforms. So they should be okay. It's not like billions and billions of dollar loss, but they need to tighten up their security, especially with their API, or just tighten their API controls, because this is not something you actually want to happen. The other one I want to go over is this JavaScript library hack. It actually affects pretty much if you're using a desktop wallet. Part of it is a clipboard hijacker. What it does is, like, you need to check, like, before you hit send, because the last line of defense for this other hack, and I think it's only stolen like $50 so far or something, so people didn't go for it. It had attacked the NPM JavaScript libraries, and libraries such as Chalk and Strip-ANSI, which are downloaded billions of times each week, and they're going to use those libraries to hijack your clipboard. So you cut and paste to send your Bitcoin to an address. What happens is they hijack that, and they don't change the first and last letters. They change some obscure letter in the middle, so people are less likely to detect it. So make 100% absolutely certain that when you're sending a transaction, you check every single letter in there. Otherwise, you could actually lose your money. Right now, I probably just wouldn't use any software wallet to send money right now until this gets fixed, until this is all over. If you're using a hardware wallet, with signs, I actually think you're probably okay. Not really sure about like Coinbase wallet or Trust wallet or any of that stuff, but like, stuff like, some of the Bitcoin web wallets and stuff, probably would not use them at this point. Remember, if you don't send cash, they can't steal it from you. If you send cash, they can hijack your clipboard and make you send the money to them. if you're not careful. So how to lose your funds. The malware uses two sophisticated methods. Clipboard hijacking, when you paste a wallet address, it stealthily swaps it with an attacker's address that's visually similar to the real one. So basically, probably like the first 5 letters are going to be the same. The last 5 letters are going to be the same, but there's like 1 or 2 letters in there that are different, and you need to be aware of that. Transaction interception, if it directly hooks into your wallet's functions, when you go to sign a transaction, it changes the recipient's address in the background before the confirmation prompt even appears. It targets Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, TRX, LTC, and BCH. And of course, your final confirmation screen is your line of defense. If you don't confirm, they can't steal anything from you. You must meticulously verify every single character of the recipient address in your wallet app or on your hardware wallet screen before approving any transaction. So NPM is like an app store for developers, and they actually use the JavaScript libraries to program a lot of applications. Obviously, I think someone's account at NPM was compromised. I don't know if it's intentionally or accidentally. And basically, the central libraries were infiltrated with bad code. Attackers appear to have planted a crypto clipper, a type of malware that silently replaces wallet addresses during transactions to divert funds. Security researchers warn that users relying on software wallets may be especially vulnerable, while those confirming every transaction on a hardware wallet are protected. Once again, why you should have like Ledger, Trezor, Alippo, Tangent, or anything like that. That malicious code doesn't automatically drain wallets. Users still have to approve a bad decision, so make sure to meticulously check any kind of transaction. Since the hacked JavaScript package can alter what happens when you click a button, hitting the swap button on an affected site could swap out the transaction details and send funds to the hackers instead. Remember, they do this because crypto, obviously, you can't reverse transactions, so it makes more sense for them to basically attack crypto than to attack anything else. So just be careful when you're doing transactions with software wallets. Like I said, I probably wouldn't do transactions with software wallets over the next few days until these libraries actually get updated again and cleaned out again. It could impact millions of users, but it does not seem to have been impacting too many users on this as of late. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin charts. We got some good news. If you look at the Bitcoin charts, the daily MACD has actually come up again. And we're getting a little bit closer to the 50 MA, although the 50 MA is still slanted downward. We want to get to about 114, 115. If we can close above 115, that is a bullish signal. But the daily MACD swinging positive again, and it is a very, very good sign. Last time it did this between 2 negative spots, it was here, but it didn't swing as positive as now. And we went down far quicker than we did now. So I don't think it's the same pattern from basically February until April. I think this is a brand new pattern, and I do think we are going up, even though the 50 MA is still going down. I do think that will reverse given a couple more days. Weekly wise, I don't think it's like that different. MACD is still negative, although I think it's going to start to get less negative, and obviously the 50 MA on the weekly is still up. So still waiting for that MACD on the 50 to turn positive once again. Obviously, like from February until April, it went really, really negative, but I don't really see it going as negative. We are most likely looking at rate cuts next week, as well as the CPI. Now, the CPI must come in good. I think people are expecting somewhere around like 3.1 for overall and 2.9 for core. If it's above that, expect the markets to dip a little bit. But as long as Jerome Powell doesn't say, I am not cutting interest rates, the markets should actually be okay. See, this is the thing with crypto. We don't want to cheer for like absolute economic collapse. But right now, because of the interest rates, we can't cheer for the economy to be really good. We want, limited amount of economic suffering. Because that is actually the best for us. See, because limited economic suffering will get them to cut rates while not hammering everyone so bad that they have like no money to actually invest. But if everything's all spiffy and great, then Jerome Powell's like, hey, I don't really need to do anything because everything is spiffy and great. So we need a little bit of suffering. And I think we're getting provided that right now with only 22,000 jobs created last month. However, I think that's actually an overestimate. I do think once it's revised, that number will actually be negative, and we will actually have overall pretty much negative amount of jobs over the next couple of months. One, because of delayed firings from Elon's Doge firing, because they got put on extended furlough. Now they're basically all being fired, so that's going to cut down on the labor numbers. And also the tariffs have actually taken a chunk out of like sectors like manufacturing. So that's also going to be very, very problematic for the jobs market. As long as inflation doesn't go super high, I think we're going to be fine. We're going to be the best if Trump's tariffs get declared illegal. And hopefully the Supreme Court does like a trick where they somehow declare the tariffs illegal, but say that we don't actually have to pay the money back to anyone that we actually got money from these tariffs. I know that's a little weird. That's kind of like saying you made so much money like robbing banks that you're not going to have to pay the money back to the banks, but stop robbing the banks. I kind of hope the Supreme Court kind of issues that ruling because that would be the best for our bags. Now, realistically, like if they actually overturn the tariffs, the administration is probably going to get sued and we're probably going to have to give some of those tariffs back. But I think we're mainly going to be paying American companies anyways if we have to get those tariffs back because it's mainly American companies and American importers, pretty much all American importers that have actually been paying that specific tariff. So pretty good. As we go right there. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.